9.8. So the last few times I've come up to check on the motorhome, I've noticed that when I come in and try to turn on the living room lights, that they are very dim or won't come on at all. And if I check the control panel, my house batteries are somewhat depleted, which got me looking into or thinking about house batteries and how they're charged and all those different kinds of systems on the RV. So I thought I would make a video that walks through all the stuff that I've learned about RV power systems, because it can get confusing. So that's what I'm going to do in this video. My goal today is to just explain some of these systems to you, what I've learned about them. I'm no expert. But let's dive into that. Before I do that, I want to remind you to hit the subscribe button down below. You might be watching the video and not realize that you're not subscribed to the channels. So just click the subscribe button down there. That helps me out a lot to know that you're interested in the content. It also lets YouTube know that there are people out here who are interested in the content. So it helps us out a lot. If you also click the bell, YouTube will actually give you a notification when we post new videos. So you might be interested in that as well. But please, if you haven't yet, hit the subscribe button for me. When you talk about motorhomes specifically, you'll hear people talk about chassis batteries and house batteries. So what does that mean? That was confusing to me at first. The chassis battery, think of that as the Ford part. So the chassis battery is going to start the engine. It's going to, if you turn on your headlights, that's all coming off of the chassis battery. In this coach, late last year, had a problem where when I was coming up, it wouldn't want to start. The battery was just at its end of life. Just replace that chassis battery. It's no different than replacing the battery in your car. So that's really just the chassis battery. The house battery, on the other hand, runs everything in the house, the camper. So the lights, the slide rooms, the smoke detectors, carbon monoxide detectors, all that sort of stuff. And the way that I like to think about it is anything, if I were to park this out in the middle of a field, let's say we decide to go boondocking, what are the systems that I need in order to use this camper? Those are going to be the things that run off of those house batteries. So we have DC and AC. The house batteries are powering all of the DC stuff. In a motorhome, we have AC/DC. DC is battery power. So those house batteries are running all of the DC systems in the coach. So if I were to go boondocking, if I took this out, parked it out in the middle of a field, I didn't have access to electricity, what systems do I need to use? Those are going to be run off those house batteries. So think about things like the slide rooms, the lights, the smoke detectors, etc. That's all running off of those house batteries. The AC system is run off of electricity. So if I were to plug into shore power at a campsite, then I'm going to get AC power into the coach. So in this coach, the things that run off of AC or electricity are the refrigerator, the TVs, the air conditioners. There are two devices in a camper or a motorhome. There's a converter and an inverter. So, and they do opposite jobs. So the inverter, let's talk about that one first. The inverter is going to take battery power, or DC, and it's going to convert it to electric power, or AC. If I'm parked out in a field and I want to turn on my refrigerator, I can turn on the inverter, and that will take power from my house batteries, convert it to AC, and provide electricity to the outlet that my refrigerator is plugged into. There are several things within this coach that are connected to inverter outlets. The refrigerator is one of them. The main TV in the living room is also connected to the inverter. And there's an outlet up by the passenger seat, up in the front, that is also connected to the inverter. So that means I could, if I turn my inverter on, I could run the refrigerator, TV, and that outlet off of battery power. Now, of course, those things are going to drain the battery. So you're not typically going to turn on the inverter and run stuff without having some backup power. That's where the converter comes in. So if I plug this coach into shore power at a campsite, I'm now getting AC current into the coach, and the converter is converting that AC power to DC power to help charge the house batteries. Where that does come in handy is when you're traveling. So when we're driving to our destination, I can turn on the inverter and run the refrigerator so that our food is staying cool while we're traveling. How does that not run the house battery down? Well, the genius minds who designed these coaches installed what's called a battery manager that controls all of this stuff, like where's the current going, where's it coming from. When I start the coach, when I start my engine, that will provide a charge that comes back to the house batteries. So when I arrived here today, you saw that my battery was down pretty low. I can't remember what it was. I started the engine, and then that battery power jumped up to full power. Also, my lights were dim when I started the engine, and the power started going to those house batteries. The lights brightened up, and the battery became fully charged. So when you're driving down the road, you turn on your inverter, your refrigerator is running, keeping your stuff cold. Your batteries are not getting run down because they're being charged by the engine that's running as you're traveling. So the inverter is extremely helpful in cases where you want to run the refrigerator, or you got kids that you want to turn on the TV, keep them entertained while you're traveling. That's where that inverter comes in. On your coach, you typically will see a battery power or a battery on-off switch. On this Thor, it's a little toggle switch. I hit it, the light comes on. That means my house battery has been connected or turned on. When I park the coach in storage and I leave it, I always turn that off. The light next to the switch goes off. That shuts off that house battery so that it's not providing power to the coach. You do want to make sure that you turn that off when you leave the coach or you store the coach, because there are things, even though you think you've turned everything off, the lights are off and all of that, there still are systems in the coach that could drain that battery. I'm thinking of things like the TV antenna booster. You might have one of those in your motorhome or your RV. That's always on and always draining power. Your smoke detectors and carbon monoxide detectors, those are always on and always draining power. So hit that battery disconnect switch, turn that off before you leave the coach for storage. The other thing that might get you there, though, is make sure that your inverter is also turned off. Even though you turn off the power on your battery, or you hit the disconnect switch on your battery, there's a chance the inverter still might drain power from the batteries even while it's parked and you've got the battery shut off. So I always try to make sure I hit the battery disconnect switch, my inverter is turned off when I park the coach in storage. So then where does the generator come in? So obviously most motorhomes have a generator. I have mine running right now because I have the AC on because it's dang hot in here. So the generator is going to provide electric power to your coach. So for boondocking, I keep mentioning that if you're parked out somewhere where you don't have access to plug into shore power, you turn on your generator, that's going to provide AC power to the coach. So the generator can charge your house batteries. The generator is going to run all your outlets, the microwave, the air conditioners, the refrigerator, etc. One important note about the generator, some people don't realize this, It runs off the gasoline that's in the tank of the coach. You don't want to run out of gasoline while you're traveling, so the generator will automatically shut off when you get down to a quarter tank of gas. Some people say, hey, my generator's not starting, what's the problem? And it's actually they're a little low on gas, they need to fill up. So just keep that in mind. So that's what I know about RV power systems. Again, I'm not an expert. This is just stuff that I've picked up along the way over the last few years of owning 2 different types of RVs. If I've got anything wrong, please let me know, leave a comment. I'd be happy to correct it. But it's good to know these things, kind of how they interact with each other, knowing when you can charge your batteries, which batteries are being used for what does the inverter do, what does the converter do, all that sort of stuff. So that's it. Hopefully this was helpful. Everything that I know about power systems on motorhomes and RVs. Again, any questions, leave them down below in the comments. If you haven't, click that subscribe button, help us out a lot. We enjoyed putting this content together for you. Hopefully you enjoy it too and find it somewhat useful. And that's it. We'll see you down the road.